Hello, Vanessa, Aminata, Melissa, Jennifer, Joanne, Danielle, Veronica, Tiffany, Beth, Candace, Ruth, Bambi, Christina, Nicole, Ariana, Maria, Letitia, Amanda, Natalia, Gazelle, Joe, and Karen. Thank you for another great week of discussion in LOS 400. I really appreciated all of your comments and insights. A few things I wanted to lift up from this week. Beth started a great conversation about trust that many of you participated in. A lot of you had some really great insights. And I agree with you that trust is crucial for leaders, and especially crucial for ethical leadership. Without trust, it's extremely difficult to lead an organization well. I mean, you do have organizations that don't have a lot of trust, that leaders use fear to get people to do things, or people or leaders use the tool of money and pay people a lot to do things, even if there's not a whole lot of trust in the organization. And those methods can be effective for a time and to a certain degree. But the organization that cultivates trust, the ethical leader who cultivates trust, will create an organizational culture that's going to lead to a lot more success and to a better outcome, not just for the company in terms of profit, but for the company in terms of the mental and physical health of the employees, in terms of the company's impact on the community. Because if you're operating from a basis of cultivating trust, you're also not lying to regulators or lying to people in the community about what you're doing. That trust is not just an internal focus, but also as part of your relationships with stakeholders that are not internal to the organization. So trust is vital. And Karen pointed out something really important, that building trust is not simply a matter of telling the truth or being honest. It also is a matter of communication. We have to tell the truth in ways that people can hear and understand. Because we might say something that's true, but if it's not clearly communicated, it can actually destroy trust if people misinterpret or don't understand or feel like we're trying to confuse them. So it's not as simple as, well, just tell the truth, but it's tell the truth in ways that people can understand and easily comprehend. So thanks for that conversation about trust. That was very helpful. I want to say thanks to Bambi and Joe and Nicole for lifting up that power interest matrix that was in the textbook. As I said, I think that is a very useful tool for helping us to determine which group of stakeholders might need more attention, might need more care, might need more resources directed toward them when you're in a position of leadership. Because there are times when one group of stakeholders will need more attention or more resources or more care. I agree with the consensus, I think, among most of us was that the starting point is that all stakeholders are treated equally. Everyone comes to the table with an equal level of importance. And I agree with that, because we're all human beings. We all start out at the same spot. Everybody deserves consideration and deserves to be treated with respect and deserves to have their situation carefully thought about very carefully. But we all know resources aren't infinite. There are going to be times where different stakeholders' interests conflict. So how do we manage those situations where we cannot satisfy everybody's interests or everybody's needs? And the power interest matrix is one tool to help us in that decision-making process, because it helps us to realize who are the people that have the most at stake in this particular situation, and perhaps we need to pay attention to them a little bit more because they have more at stake than other stakeholders who may have less interest and less power to influence that situation. So that's one tool. Another tool that I brought up is the PLUS method, where you would look at a possible course of action and you would say, is this course of action something that's in line with the policies and procedures that are part of our company? P, is it in line with the policies and procedures? The next question you might ask is it legal? Am I going to violate any laws if I do this? Because it may be true sometimes that, well, we don't have a policy against this, but it is illegal, so I shouldn't do it. The next is universal. How does this relate to the values and principles for our organization or our profession? How does it fit in with the code of ethics and our company culture? Is this something that's appropriate as an appropriate course of action according to those guidelines? And then lastly, yourself. What does this course of action is this course of action in line with my own sense of justice and fairness and a way to act with integrity? And if you can check off all those boxes, then chances are the action is ethical, is a ethically responsible action. If you get a red light on any of those, that's an indication that, wait a minute, maybe we need to think about this a little bit more. Maybe you should have a conversation with somebody else whom you trust to examine the course of action and see if it really is appropriate or if there is an ethical problem with it. And you could look at these two tools as, in some sense, an example of kind of a utilitarian way of looking at things and a deontological way of looking at things. So the power interest matrix is focused on what is the situation and how can we analyze the power and interest to generate a better result. It's consequentialist. It's focused on the consequences, like a utilitarian theory of action. How can we benefit the most people? We look at all the power and interest. How can we benefit the most people by our course of action? The plus system is kind of a deontological way of looking at things. What duties do I have to the company, to the law, to the standards of our profession, to my own internal moral compass? What duties do I have? What obligations, moral obligations, ethical obligations do I have? Legal obligations do I have? And if I could fulfill all those obligations, then the action is probably a good one. So not focused on the results there, just focused on what are my moral obligations, moral and ethical obligations, more of a kind of a deontological approach. So I think using both of these together is actually a very helpful way to look at ethical problems, because it helps us to think through things in two different ways and perhaps will help illuminate a course of action so that we can see more clearly whether we should go there. So again, I just want to say thank you to all of you for all your great insights and participation, and I look forward to what you have to say in week 3. If you have any concerns, or if there's any way that I could be helpful to you, please send me an email, reach out to me through Canvas, send me a text, or give me a call. I'd be happy to hear from you. Thanks.